The House voted to hold former White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows in contempt for ending his cooperation with the panel investigating the deadly Capitol riot. Our Dan Abrams joining us right now. He spoke with former Fox News anchor and host of the History Tour with former President Trump, Bill O'Reilly, about Meadows and January 6th. Dan, I know your schedule. It's intense. Thank you for joining us by car. I do want to get to the interview with O'Reilly, but first, your thoughts on how significant this story is with Mark Meadows.
Look, I think that this is the first procedural step. I think that it's somewhere between what the breathless coverage you'll see on some networks and the lack of coverage you'll see on others. It's a big deal if Mark Meadows is ultimately prosecuted by the Department of Justice for contempt of Congress. That's still a step away. This is the congressional vote, which is step one in this process. And remember, he has cooperated in part in connection with this and handing over documents. Right. The question is just the actual interview.
Yes, absolutely. And I think that's something that needs to be cleared up for anybody who's questioning it. It's not the text messages that they're looking at that are the reason for the contempt charges. It's that he already turned over the text messages and other documents. It's that he was refusing to report based on this subpoena. Let's get to some of your interview with Bill O'Reilly and play the first soundbite about his thoughts on the Capitol riot. Let's listen.
I think that the Capitol riot was one of the most disgraceful displays in U.S. history, and everybody involved in that riot should pay a price. And I've said that from day one. Now, if people disagree, they have a right to disagree. But that's my posture. And I'll tell you, Fox News is a different place than it was when I was there. All right? I don't know. I don't follow it that closely anymore. But when I was there was a discipline from management that diminishing the Capitol riot could never have happened. And I'll state that firmly on the record.
Very strong statement from Bill O'Reilly, obviously a former colleague of some of the journalists who were texting former President Trump about what he needed to do to get rioters to stand down. Does this not speak to how interesting a time we are in media and with this particular presidency?
Yeah, and if you read between the lines, what Bill O'Reilly is really saying is that Fox News is not the place from when I was there. That the sort of coverage you're seeing diminishing the riot wouldn't have happened when he was there back in the Roger Ailes era. And I think that from a sort of media perspective, that's really interesting. The idea that Bill O'Reilly is very softly but obviously critiquing what he currently sees on Fox News, what he described to me as preaching to the choir very often, and that he doesn't find that to be very interesting. And I think that you have seen this evolution on Fox News, and Bill O'Reilly is highlighting.
Let's play the second bite if we have time, guys. Can we play that second bite from Bill O'Reilly and Dan?
When all hell broke loose in the Capitol, they apparently, some Fox News people, and I assume other people as well, were emailing Mr. Meadows saying, hey, what are you guys going to do? When are you going to do it? You got to get out there. This is a debacle. This is crazy. So it seems to me, I don't know whether it's over the journalistic line. I wouldn't have done it myself. I would have asked the question. Say, are you guys going to make a statement? What are you going to do? Looks like things are out of control. I don't think I would have advocated. That's not what journalists do. But it was in a very intense, quick-breaking situation.
What were your thoughts, Dan, as you spoke to him about the text messages from Fox journalists to President Trump urging him to do something to have the rioters stand down?
Yeah, you see, again, O'Reilly kind of walking a line, sort of criticizing Fox without trying to overtly criticize Fox, saying, I wouldn't have done it, et cetera. Look, the big issue, I think, that Bill didn't really address with me was not the fact that the Fox hosts and reporters, whoever they were writing to Mark Meadows and even what they were saying. It's what they said later about it, which seemed different from what they were saying in real time. And I think that's the media question, because I think everyone reasonable agrees that what happened on January 6th was a total outrage. and a disaster. And that these hosts on Fox wanted what was best for the country, which was for the president to get up there and help end it. The question now is, why has the tone changed from some of them on Fox News? And that's what Bill O'Reilly and I were addressing in that interview.
Well, I know that you had a lengthy conversation with him, about 30 minutes long. I'm sure that is available to watch on newsnationnow.com, and your show airs every weeknight at 8 Eastern, 7 Central, the Dan Abrams Live Show. Thank you, Dan, as you're in transit, for joining us this morning. Appreciate it.
Good to see you, and sorry I had to call you from the car. It was the only option.
It's life. That's the life we live. It's virtual and it's real and there's masks. So thank you, Dan.
I know I had to wear a mask because I'm in the car. So apologies on all levels about this.
It's all good. No worries. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to click on the red subscribe button below so you can get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.